So, Mr. Joe, this swamp, this beautiful swamp, is a habitat. Do you remember what a habitat is?
Hey, is that where somebody lives? Does somebody live out here?
Yeah, I would say that there's lots of things that live out here. Birds,
Wow.
maybe
birds,
squirrels,
Squirrels?
maybe lots of things live out here. So this is a habitat. It's a beautiful swamp and it is a habitat. I wanted to talk to you today or just ask the question, do habitats change over time?
I think they're changing all the time. They're evolving.
Well, what would make them change?
Many things can make them change. The changing temperature, the change
Oh, the
in
seasons
warmth.
can make them change.
The seasons make them change for sure.
I have a hard question.
Okay.
Can the plants that live in a habitat make the habitat change?
Let me think about that one.
Because I have something in mind.
I think the plants that are in the habitat definitely change the environment for our friends that live here.
Give me an example if you can. If you can't, I've got an example.
Well, I think that this plant
Oh, that.
seems to be very pervasive and growing all over the place.
This is a briar.
That's a briar?
Yeah, it's got stickers all over it, Mr. Joe.
Yeah.
Okay.
So when I'm walking through it, I'm going to be really careful with those because they have those stickers. So it's changing that environment.
So, are you saying that as more of these briars grow, they come to take over the environment, and animals that used to live here might have to move away because they can't live in the same place where there's all these briars?
Yeah, the briars might take away a food source, like this nice little fern is replaced with a briar, and a food source is missing. So you're going to find a new habitat.
That's a great example, Mr. Joe. Hey, Mr. Joe, that was such a great example. That was plants changing the environment. Can you give me an example of how humans change the environment?
Mr. Randy, humans have a big impact. Let's look just right over here.
Oh, yeah.
You can see new construction came in here. They tried to keep the preserve over here, but they built a retaining wall, a house, they put sod in, we got air conditioning. It totally changed the environment.
So, Mr. Joe, this swamp and this house, there used to be animals here, right?
Yes, sir, Mr. Randy.
So what do you think happened to the animals?
Unfortunately, their habitat was changed out, totally, modernized and made very sterile. And so they were forced out of their homes, and they might be over here in the preserve, or who knows? But
Okay,
they had to find a new home.
Let's say this: if it was a squirrel that lived here, then the squirrel might have moved a few hundred feet that way. But if it was a bird might have gone all the way miles and miles away. So the animals move. When humans come in and build houses and they make everything look beautiful, some of the habitat has to be taken away from the animals, and the animals will just go someplace else for the most part.
I think you're right, Mr. Randy. But I think the preserve is pretty beautiful in its own right.
Oh yeah, it's still here, and I think humans have a lot to do with the fact that this is going to be here forever. So the new homes are here. People need a place to live. So we have these new homes and they're beautiful. We had to take away some of the environment in order to do that. But I want to point out that over here, Mr. Joe, there's this beautiful lake that has been built to replace some of the habitat that was removed. So, at least in this area where the habitat is being removed, new habitat, beautiful habitat, is put in for the animals that were here to move over in this direction.
And it is very nice. I think I can even see some birds along the shoreline over there. And so this attracts many animals. They all need water. Water is an essential element. So I understand what you're telling me. This is very nice. Hey, Mr. Randy, we're sitting here enjoying the shade from this beautiful tree, and I noticed there's nothing growing under here. What happened?
Wow, and you know what, you'll notice that all these other trees, big trees like this, there's nothing growing under any of them. This has to do with the ability of plants to change the environment. This huge oak tree, it does a lot of things. It puts out a lot of shade, as you can see. And plants that, especially seedlings, they need a lot of shade, a lot of sunlight to grow. So they don't like it under these big trees. And you see a lot of leaves also. These big trees put out a lot of leaves, and it's hard for little seedlings to grow when there's so many leaves on the ground.
It's almost like nature's mulch, right?
Right, right. So the big trees, they grow, and underneath the big trees, there's almost nothing. But the tree itself, Mr. Joe, is a habitat. There's lots of animals and even plants that grow on this tree. Did you know that plants grow on plants?
That's amazing, isn't it?
Yeah, if you look up, you see the Spanish moss. So the Spanish moss is growing on the oak tree. And then there are insects. There are probably ants that live up there. There might be a beehive up there. There might be wasp nests. There might be bird nests. There are a lot of animals that can live in the oak tree habitat.
It gives off a lot of acorns too in one part of its season.
Yes, it makes a tremendous amount of food for squirrels and other animals that eat nuts like that.
I bet this tree produces a lot of acorns, and they're all over, and that's food for squirrels and other animals. But it also, there's seeds too.
Oh yeah, the acorns are seeds. And when they fall to the ground, they can either be eaten by the animals, or they can grow up into little seedlings. Sometimes you see, there are some plants that grow here. These little seedlings are little oak trees. Now they're not doing too well right now. You don't see any kind of flowers or anything like that because flowers need a lot of sunlight.
Yeah, we have just beautiful shade here under this tree.
So Mr. Joe, as long as this tree lives, this is the habitat that is going to exist. But one day, Mr. Joe, that will change.
And what day would that be, Mr. Randy?
The day that this tree dies and falls down, then everything changes.
Yep. All of a sudden we'll have sunlight,
Yep.
we'll have nutrition, and these baby trees will have a chance.
Or flowers might grow. Lots of things will grow when the habitat changes because the tree is gone.
Mr. Randy, you know this different habitat? That's why I am wild about science.
Well, Mr. Joe, thank you very much. Students, I have a challenge for you. I have kind of challenged Mr. Joe a couple of times today to answer questions about how the environment can change through plants or animals or humans. And my challenge to you is to go out near your home and find a place where the environment has been changed, either by humans or by an animal or by a plant. So that's your challenge. I want you to find a place where you think the environment has been changed by an animal, plant, or a human, and draw a picture of it, write it down in your science notebook, share it with your teacher on the virtual classroom, and let your teacher share it with your classmates. And have a great day.